Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of August 2024. I hope you're well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. The link for that is down in the description box. The second link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, where you can, for no additional cost, get access to the extended readings, all of them, and hang out with an extraordinary group of people. So, if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links. Right, Cancer, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Just move that out of the way. So, I have 3 cards for Cancer, please. There's the first one. Oh, fucking hell. Oh. Let's get it. It's the World card. Now, it fell on the reverse on the floor, so I'm going to honour that and put it there. Comme ça. What about current energy, please? We have the King of Wands, Leo, the major arcana. No, minor arcana. And what's coming towards Cancer, please? Knight of Swords, that's Gemini. At the bottom of the deck we have the 5 of Swords. What is that? Venus in Aquarius? Something like that? I think it is. It can speak to self-sabotage. It can speak to conflicts of words and thoughts and ideas. These things are all possible with the 5 of Swords. I'm going to wait until we've got some more cards on the table to see specifically how this relates. But I think it's quite interesting that we've got the Knight of Swords here, whose principal job is the transmission of information. And wherever possible, we would like that information to be as accurate and precise as possible, which puts it somewhat in conflict with this card of conflict, conflicting information over here. So let's just straighten these up a little bit and let's get some clarifiers on the table, because this World card in reverse means that something isn't ending yet. There's a block, there's a delay, there's potentially an obstacle to something that you have been trying to close out, or something that you have perceived that is closing out around you. Let's get some cards. Tell me about the World card, please. There we are. We have the Star. That's Aquarius 2. That's the World card. And we have the 9 of Wands, Moon in Sagittarius. Tell me about the King of Wands, please, here for Cancer. We have the 8 of Pentacles and the 10 of Swords. Interesting. Okay, so we can see some sort of transitional energy occurring, but let me not get ahead of myself. Tell me about the Knight of Swords. Why is that here, please? We have the Knight of Pentacles. And we have the 7 of Wands. Both of them showing up in the upright here. Now, the 6 of Swords is at the bottom of this deck. And I quite like the fact that it's there. Because although you are a water sign, there's quite a lot of air energy here for you. You know, we've got it here, we've got it here, we've got it here. We also have it in here with the Star card. That means that information is at a premium, but it's also about the way that you're processing this information and what it is that you're choosing to do with it. There doesn't really seem to be much room for emotion in the decisions that are being made or the processes that are being undergone here by you in August. There are no water cards anywhere. This is about facts, information, and actions that follow accordingly, if I can put it that way. Now, the fact that we have the 5 over here, which does denote an instability of sorts, and we also have the 6 that is coming out, they're coming out consecutively, means that we are moving through this energy to this energy. Now, what is not entirely clear at the moment is, well, actually, I say that, but I think it probably is. Like I said here, there's some sort of ending, whether it's one that you're trying to bring about or it's one that you're perceiving, or maybe even for some of you, it's something that you've been trying to fight off, right? And it's not, things aren't coming to completion. But if we can jump to your current energy over here, we see that something is completing. The thing is, it's an order of magnitude smaller than what is going on over here. Because it's minor arcana, there are other cards in the major arcana that can speak to endings and terminations and closures aside from the world card. I'm thinking specifically of the death card or the tower card, but we're not seeing those here in your energy. What we're seeing is a smaller closing out, closing of a smaller cycle. And sometimes, in order to bring something bigger to a state of completion, we need to finish up all of the little side quests that have been stopping us from moving on to the next level. And if anything, I would say that that's what this entire reading is about here for you. I need to have something to fiddle with, so I should pick my lighter up here. Generally speaking, the World card is a card that is joyous because it represents some sort of not just ending and completion or whatever, but essentially a graduation from a previous cycle, right? We've worked right the way through from the Fool to the World, and from that point on we start again with the Fool, but hopefully at a higher level than what we've just experienced down here. For whatever reason, it feels like that ending, that completion, that graduation is being held in abeyance for something. And I think it's to give you time to make the adjustments in other aspects of things that are necessary to form the foundation for the arrival of the Fool. Now we have the Star here and we have the Nine of Wands, and I think what I actually feel is a feeling of some frustration around here. Because the Star card is here, there is a goal, there is an ambition, there is something that you're working towards, right? The star is in the sky and you're pointing at it, that's where I want to go. The Star card can be, as well as kind of broadly representing the future, it is our highest goals, hopes, dreams and aspirations, that sort of stuff. And there's a readiness when the Star appears, I think, to do whatever it takes, to be whatever it takes in order to push towards that, or at least get ourselves ready to adopt the mindset and the characteristics of someone who would be more likely to achieve this goal than not. But this Nine of Wands here, like I said, is a moon in Sagittarius. It gives me the feeling that there's something out of alignment here. Now, whether it is that there are other things that in some way contribute to the ending that you're looking for that have not yet been completed, it's almost like the devil's in the detail, and that's where the frustration is, because it's like one thing after another, and it's like, I'm just trying to bring an end to this so that I can push through, headed towards what my star actually wants for me, or what I want from making contact with my star. The cards numbered 9 in the minor arcana for me speak to how you as an individual, at least from my perspective, you as an individual process whatever element it's referring to. So in the case of Nine of Cups, it will be about how you process and manage your emotions, yours. In the Nine of Swords, it would be how you process information, how you manage your thoughts, and what you take from the information that comes into you, right? Do you have proper perspective on things? Here it's the Nine of Wands, and the Nine of Wands says, what actions have you been taking? The follow on from the Nine of Wands is the 10, and when we arrive at the 10, we realize that we are overburdened. Things have been too much, perhaps we've overcommitted to things, we've taken on too much responsibility, or quite frankly, it's the point at which the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's like something's got to give. And until you reach that point of absolute discomfort and tension, you really don't have any idea what is going to be the thing that gives. Now, if that's the 10, then standing back here at the 9 makes me feel like you've been putting an awful lot of effort into the star, right? And your relationship with the star. But it's almost like the more energy you put into it, the further away it has seemed to get, because there are more and more things that have been piling into the space between you and the star. Like this World card reversed isn't a retrospective. God, what's the word I'm even looking for here? It's not a step backwards. It's not a regression. But it's certainly not the achievement of completion that you're looking for. And I wonder if at this point, whether your attention has been on the star so firmly, you've been so blinkered, that the other things kind of around it, the other things that need sorting out, haven't really had a look in. I'm trying to think of a way to describe the feeling that I've got here. And the first thing that comes to mind is the frustration between expectation and reality. So, and this is probably a decent way, goes a decent way to explain what I mean. If you know that your commute to work takes on average 15 minutes. If you do it in 15 minutes, that's fine. If you do it in 12 minutes, maybe all the lights are green just as you're approaching them, and that's wonderful. You know, they're all just turning and turning and turning, and you shave 3 minutes off. That's great too. But then one day, for some reason that seems inexplicable, because you're at the back of a huge tailbag, it takes you 1 hour and 20 minutes to get into work. Like, that could conceivably absolutely wreck your day. If, however, you live in a really heavily populated area, and you know that at weekends it's possible for you to do this commute in 15 minutes, but in rush hour on a weekday it's going to take no less than 1 hour and a half. That hour and 20 minutes, actually, because you're adjusted to the idea that things will take longer, and that, if you let it, it will frustrate you. It almost stops you engaging emotionally with the time that you feel like you're losing, right? You've allocated it ahead of time. You got in 10 minutes earlier than you were expecting to. It's a win. Now, if you were faced with that the weekend, that would probably be awful. And I don't know if I'm doing a terribly good job of explaining this here, but it feels a little bit like you're trying to rush something. And I can't really put it any more clearly than that. Some things take time. Some things take more time than others. And I do wonder if what you're being asked to look at here is to check your expectation about how quickly something is going to change or come into being or close out or any of the above. Give me something else for this. Yeah, see, we've got the Three of Wands there. There's Three of Wands there, but a Three of Swords there. There's this desire to move forwards, right? To be making active strides forward that are measurable. And it doesn't feel like they're happening. And this feels to me like it's frustrating you more than if you had stepped back from the situation and said, well, do you know what? Realistically, as much as I don't like it, it's probably going to take this long to sort this out. And maybe, just for my own sanity and mental health, I should stick another couple of weeks on there, build in some redundancy, and then act accordingly. That seems to be the thing that's been stuck here for you, right? Almost certainly a question of the Five of Swords, where the information has not been weighed up properly enough for you to make a meaningful decision moving forwards that will stop you from flipping your biscuits about how long things are taking. Now, when we come into your current energy, we have the King of Wands, we have the Ten of Swords, and we have the Eight of Pentacles. And this feels like a wholesale revolution in the way that you have been thinking and acting with regard to this stuff over here. You know, the King of Wands is active fire. It's about as active as you get. I mean, active air moves faster, but in terms of stamina and whatnot, the King of Wands is in for the long haul. He's not afraid of hard work, and he's not afraid of, initiating things, but I think one of the main energies that I associate with the King of Wands is that of timing. You don't get this so much with the other kings. I mean, they all have their own relationship with time. But the timing of the King of Wands is perfection. Because he's had all of this practice with the Knight of Wands, right? Who is very much in the moment and is able to respond in the moment, because anything outside of the moment doesn't really exist for the King of Wands, right? For the Knight of Wands. So by the time you get to the King, we've got a much more mature outlook on that. But we've lost none of the timing, none of the sharpness, none of the potential exploitation of opportunities as they come along. Or conversely, understanding quite how much time is going to need to pass before actions are taken over here. And this seems to have completely revolutionized the way that you have gone about doing what you're doing, right? We've got the Ten of Swords here, and far from this being something unpleasant, I actually feel like this is exactly what needed to happen, because with the swords representing the intellect, mind, reason, logic, all these sorts of things, right? When we move through from the Ace to the Ten, what's actually happening is there is there's a recalibration of mental processes that goes on. You know, think back in time to things that felt like great betrayals and great tragedies, you know, when you were 14. And with the age and experience and wisdom that you have now, you're kind of like, yeah, well, I'll totally overrate that. It's a little bit cringe to look back at it, right? But at the time, it was the be-all and end-all of everything. And what changed in the intervening period with the age and wisdom and experience is the outlook, the perception, the knowledge that nothing lasts forever. This Ten of Swords, I think, is the thing that has been, well, it represents that which has been standing in your way. And in some, it's kind of reductive to say that it's impatience, but impatience really does form a huge part of what the problem is here. Now, rather than focusing your energies on the fact that nothing is getting done the way that you want it to get done, or at the speed that you want it to get done, it seems to me that you've regrouped and you've changed your entire approach to this. And in doing so, it's like, bing, you just ticked the box of changing the perspective, right? Reframing the whole experience and the context within which this experience is happening. And we've got the Eight of Pentacles. You know, I spoke to, God, I think it might have been Sagittarius, right? About what was theirs to do. That was a big theme for them in their reading. And it's something that I've been coming back to again and again and again myself over the last couple of weeks, like what's mine to do. Particularly in light of the absolute tsunami of information that has been Jupiter in Gemini, right? If you so wish, you can be completely engulfed by what is going on outside of you, but that's not particularly helpful, and it certainly doesn't push you forwards. And I think the antidote to that is working out what is yours to do. Working out whether your timeframes are reasonable, working out whether there is redundancy in there or not that should be in there. Even though everything is breaking down and being chaotic outside of you, it still can't accelerate something that needs a very particular time frame to develop. I welcome that Ten of Swords because it represents the ending of something, right? What we hope would appear at some point is going to be the Ace of Swords, right? This totally new way of seeing things. But because everything moves in cycles, you almost can't have the Ace without the preceding 10. You know, and certainly the 10 won't develop without the Ace having first initiated it. It's like full chicken, egg, chicken, egg, chicken, egg, right? It's a cycle. But whatever happens at the moment, what already has happened, what is happening, and to an extent, what will happen over the course of August, still doesn't have the effect of turning this world card the right way up yet. Because timing really does feel to be important. I mean, another thing that I didn't mention, and I probably should mention, here is that the world card is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is the god of time, of the passing of time, of limitations, boundaries, you know, the furthest extent of something. And this is saying you have not yet reached the furthest extent of something because there have been other things that you have missed, or you've been over invested in an outcome that isn't happening quickly enough for you. And we see the rectification of it here, because it's nose back to the grindstone. You know, this what's mine to do, because the King of Wands would really only be interested in what was his to do. And then the application of that, right, really putting himself, putting his nose back to the grindstone, right? This is a card of mastery. Because it's the Eight of Pentacles, again, time. This process that he's undergoing here takes time. Now, he could knock off some really, you know, cheap versions of what he's doing, but they wouldn't have the same value that they have because he put the time in. Now, bearing in mind that Mercury is in retrograde during August, also we have Pluto in retrograde, we have Saturn in retrograde, we have, what else do we have in retrograde? Neptune is in retrograde. Well, at some point relatively soon, and I can't remember whether it's in August or it's September, we'll have Mars going into retrograde as well. Like, retrograde energy does not support quantum leaps forwards in anything at all. It supports going back and checking that what you've done is correct. Finding ways to hone and refine what it is that you've already done. Making sure that your understanding is deep enough for what it is that you're trying to do before you move forwards. Ooh. Well, look at that, Cancer. We have double Cancer cards coming out on the table. We have the Moon and we have the Chariot, both of which represent the sign of Cancer to me. We have the goals, we've got the desperate desire to move forwards, right? It's goal setting, goal achieving. It's seeing the end result that you're, you know, headed towards, the end destination. And pushing and pushing and pushing till you get there, because it's, you know, the final destination is in sight. But here we have the Moon. Now, the Moon is about your intuition. It's about your identity to an extent, because these both are Cancer cards, right? So it's talking about digging deep within you. What is your intuition saying? And has your intuition been seeing you right? Or has it been masquerading as intuition when actually what it is some sort of fear-based desire for action? Because it's really, really important, I think, and this is particularly true in August, I would say right across the board for all the signs, is that what we do not engage in is knee-jerk behaviours. It's actually, I think, the worst thing that could be done. It doesn't mean that we should sit around on our laurels and contemplate, you know, whatever. But we should be digging deep on ourselves and making sure that any... Okay, right, that's my camera just shut down. Luckily, we are still recording, so I'm just going to switch this to the overhead only, so you can see what we're looking at. That's the important thing. We need to make sure that any movement forwards is coming from a place that is really healthy and is actually driven by a desire to achieve more, have more in terms of actual abundance and things that make you feel good about yourself, rather than reacting to a situation and being like, fuck, I need to get out of here. I need to flee, I need to escape. This foundation, and these are the first cards that are giving us any indication whatsoever of some sort of emotional aspect to the proceedings that we've got, right? They're the only water cards on the table and they're both yours. It's like the difference between expanding and growing in a balanced way, you know, all these things that we've got. I mean, there's so much of this all over both of these cards here. They're wonderful. And this knee-jerk response of trying to escape from something that makes you feel trapped and restricted, right? Because that is coming from a place of fear. And it's not about expansion. In some ways, it will have the effect of being a reduction. It will be a reductive act that you are making on yourself. The Five of Swords here, then very prescient in its warning about self-sabotage. Because what feels like a good idea one day when you're trying to run away from something may in time turn out to be anything but when the dust has settled. And I really do feel like I've been giving this message to everybody this month. Like, you may well still carry on with what it is that you're planning, whatever your personal star is representing to you. But, like, just for example, we've got 2 Nine of Wands here. They've both shown up for you. They depict a very different aspect of 9 of Wands energy. Now, they mean essentially the same thing, but they're depicted very differently. One, I would say, is very, very healthy. And we have the idea of boundaries, right? And a well-kept border, all that sort of stuff. Metaphorically speaking. This one feels completely hunted. This one's saying, fuck, I'm going to need a fight again, and I'm trying so hard, and I'm already bandaged up, and everything's so difficult. I just want to get away from this shit. Like, which one of these, Cancer, objectively and truthfully represents the actions that you're taking at the moment? Because if your end result is the Four of Wands, if your end result is the Star, is it not worth taking the time to make sure that you are correctly creating the right foundations for yourself moving forwards? My concern for you is that by knee-jerking your way into something, you're reacting out of fear. And the problem with that is wherever you go, there you are. So if you react out of fear and you run away, you will take that fear with you, and it will in some way reappear later down the line. The Chariot isn't just a card of victory and success. It's a card of self-examination. It's a card of self-imposed equilibrium. It's a card, actually, for me, of the shadow. And I don't know, I don't hear other readers talking about it like that, but for me it very much is, because the light and the dark need to be balanced for you to move in any direction whatsoever. And if they are not, you will be pulled off your straight line. You will be pulled away from the ability to move forward. So you'll be constantly engaging in side quests as the universe is blocking whatever thing you're trying to do now, because you're not integrated. You're not fully in alignment and taking everything with you. And like I said, you still may well be headed towards that castle. But what is it that you're wanting to take there? What is it that you're wanting to protect there? What is it that you're wanting to live once you get there? Now, this Moon card is wonderful. I love the woman looking at herself in the mirror, because her reflection is so very real and yet does not exist. Sometimes we see what we want to see, and we do not see what we do not want to see. This is about getting in touch with ourselves such that our intuition can speak, and we know that it speaks the truth. That for me seems to be a really important message here in this reading, because we've got this down here, but then we're moving away. We're literally moving away from the instability of thought in the Five of Swords to away from a situation, and you do seem to want to move away from a situation towards something that is going to be much more in alignment with who these two are in the boat, right? Something that has the possibility of joy and stability within it. But there's a considerable difference between running away from something and running toward something. And I think part of what you're being asked to examine this month is which one of those actually applies here for you. We've got the Knight of Swords, we've got information. We've got the processing of information, the transmission of information. You know, where is your information coming from? Is it coming from outside sources, or is it coming from you internally? Because the thing is, with this Knight of Pentacles showing up sideways and the Seven of Wands showing up sideways, what is unclear is what it is that you're actually committing to. The Knight of Swords wants to move very fast. The Knight of Pentacles wants to move very slow. In somewhere in between, there's going to have to be a compromise. But even if this is not about the speed with which you move, both of these knights have a job to do. The Knight of Swords seems to be doing what it's trying to do, but I do wonder if maybe it's doing it a little bit too hard, which is to say gathering information and trying to work out what is going on, trying to work out the next move, right? There's a lot of very heavy mental energy going on with you this month rather. The Knight of Pentacles, though, he's on the fence. He's like, what am I committing to? What am I working hard for? Where am I going? What is the thing that is precious that I am holding in my hand here? Because just like the Knight of Swords, like he's moving something from one place to another, but he's taking what is most precious. And when he gets to where he's going, he is not going to just stand around and hold that. He's not going to fashion some sort of necklace out of it and, wear it around on his chest. That pentacle is going to get planted. Now, in order to undertake the journey that he is on, he needs to know where the fuck he's going. And when he gets there, he needs to know what the fuck he's planting and for why. This energy of the Knight of Swords seems altogether too erratic to really be able to make that kind of wise judgment about things, even though we're seeing that there's a little bit of pulling back here and a little bit of let's just check that we're going in the right direction. I've got that Seven of Wands. Are the defences up or are the defences down? Is the guard up because you're feeling threatened, or is the guard down because actually you're just living your best life and you're pushing yourself towards, the most perfect expression of your authentic energy? It feels muddled to me for you in August as you slowly unpick what is what and, what part of the information that you're actually being exposed to is useful to you. Because not all of it is. I would say that with some certainty. Tell me about these. Okay. Thank you. We've got the Magician. And we've got the Two of Pentacles. Like, it feels like it's a push and pull with you all month. In some ways, well, actually, right, so out of the two characters here, we have the Magician and we have the Two of Pentacles. The one that is adopting the pose, which is more usually associated with the Magician, is actually the Two of Pentacles. And I think there's something really profound in these two showing up here like this, right? Usually he's pointing down with his fingers, right? And he's got his wand and he's pointing up. That's what the Magician usually does here. He is acting as a conduit for the energies of the universe to come through, combined with his will and the elements he can then manifest. We have a different version of that going on here in this Magician card. But to me, actually, it's not that the Two of Pentacles is more important than this Magician card. It's recognizing how one is the magician in this particular situation. And it's not by way of amassing so much information. it's not by way of throwing everything through your mental filters. It is, in fact, I would go as far as to say, about this. We're back to this idea of what's yours to do. And she's here juggling pentacles because she's got pentacles and she can juggle them. Often it talks about the balance of, between duties and responsibilities and obligations as set off against the need for fun, or obligations and whatnot that other people have to you. There's a balance here that needs to be achieved with the Two of Pentacles, and it's very much, as you can see from her pose there, it's very much an active, it's a very dynamic energy card. If you want to funnel the energy of the Magician this month, it's actually about paying attention to the detail of things, not allowing yourself to get overwhelmed with information that is, to put it this way, not yours to do anything with. It's like, what can you choose to focus on? How can you bring the Magician through in small ways to adjust and adapt what it is that you're working on? Because I honestly think you've done really well in envisaging what it is that you want to bring in, right? You're really, really focused on this end goal, this end result, but somewhere along the line it's become too engaged with the end result. And the things that are getting missed are what's stopping everything closing out to get you closer to it. You need to commit to a course of action, but it's not in terms of the big stuff. It's in terms of the little stuff. What is yours to do, Cancer? And when you focus your mind on what is yours to do, then you may come to a point where you realise that there are battles that you've been fighting that you don't need to go anywhere near. Conversely, you may understand that there are battles to be fought that you've been avoiding. The Knight of Pentacles will start to get a clearer understanding of what his job is. I don't think that you've been avoidant exactly, Cancer, but I do feel like you've been overwhelmed. And frankly, I don't blame you. I think everybody's a bit overwhelmed at the moment. So bring it down to what is within your control. Bring it down to what gets you closer. Even if it feels like a sidestep, is it getting you closer to what you're trying to bring about here? Because I don't think the universe is going to tolerate, well, it's already not tolerating. It's not going to tolerate you missing out the small things. The small things are actually where the power is. Another thing that I've said to Sagittarius for well over a year now is chop wood, carry water. Don't let yourself get distracted. It's all very well having big dreams, but you need to be able to chop wood and carry water right up until the point where you achieve those dreams, and then even thereafter. Yeah, we're actually talking about it in terms of enlightenment and whatever. It doesn't matter how enlightened you are, you're still a human at the end of the day. You're going to have to chop wood, you're going to have to carry water, right? If your dream seems further away than ever, then realize that what is missing is that. That's how you channel this really powerful energy of the Magician through. This is how you begin the act of creation. It's deal with the small stuff. And come September, the energy will change again. It will be something different. But for a lot of you, I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, removing yourself from external sources of information could be a really good thing. Drop social media. Don't bother reading the papers. Don't be sucked in to the death throes of a falling civilization. Focus on what is solely yours to do, and what are the small things that can make a difference. This is really interesting. I'm going to go over to the extended now, so you're very welcome to join me over there if you would like to. You can do that on Vimeo or you can do it on Circle. It's entirely up to you. I'd love to see you in either place. But if that's not for you, that's also fine. Just know that sometimes it's time to really put your foot down, right? Really put your pedal to the metal and all that. This isn't one of those months. And you could drive yourself, frankly, absolutely insane if you try to make it be one of those months. Better that you acknowledge that it is going to take you a certain amount of time to get through this traffic jam. And what would you do to make that more easy for yourself? Well, stick on a fucking podcast, listen to some music, do something with the time that you are in the car. Attend to the small things, right? All right. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.